Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I'm your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Mariaestela. I serve spiritual entrepreneurs, Magdalenes rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business, aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you are here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, Mariaestela.com, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the free Magdalene blueprint I've created for you. Go to mariaestela.com/AYM to get it. Before I dive into today's episode, I have just two brief announcements. One is that my mastermind, the Magdalene Rising, is open for enrollment. If you're a soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneur who wants to be supported in making love-based decisions the main staple of your business, as well as fully align your business with all that you are, check out mariaestela.com/mastermind. Secondly, I've started a second podcast, because, one wasn't enough. It's called Spiritual Business with Mariaestela, and in it I share everything and all things having to do with being a soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneur and having a spiritual business. It's designed to inspire you, empower you, guide you, nurture you, and activate you. You can find it on YouTube as well as everywhere where podcasts are broadcasted, or you can go to mariaestela.com/SBP if you want to know more. Hello, Radiant One, and a very big and very warm welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is going to be about, I sense, all of the divine feminine essence, the divine feminine rising, divine feminine in everything. Because she, and when I say she, quote unquote, I don't mean she as a gender. I mean that as the essence, as the part of us, as a part of us, as an aspect of us. I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not see that the divine feminine essence is clearly rising within our world. And that is a necessity. To me, the current rise of quote unquote her is the result of the paradigm shift that I believe Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and the Magdalenes came here to insert more than 2,000 years ago. I see it when I look through history. I see it as it's like a snowball, right? It's slowly snowballing. It's growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I also want to say that your rise or my rise, the rise of the divine feminine that we're currently experiencing, while personal and global, I think it's been going on for centuries. I think that women and men alike have had experiences of this. They may not have been able to put words to it or know what it was or what it stood for or what it really was, but they have sensed that there is something that is calling them. We're being called back to our hearts rather than our minds. We're being called to be, live, and do from that space of heart, and that is to me the key piece of that living and being and doing is the gnosis, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the intuition that lies within the realm of the divine feminine essence. If you've followed me for a while, listened to these episodes, you will know this already. I just want to make clear that to me, part of that journey is also healing our divine masculine essence and the shadow aspects of him, quote unquote him. However, in this episode, that's not what I'm going to be dealing with. I just want to make sure that by talking about the divine feminine as I do in this episode, I am not excluding the necessity nor the need for or the requirement that I believe is of the healing of our divine masculine essence. That will probably be for another episode, but for this, it's going to be about the divine feminine. And so, why now? Well, to me personally, right now, I've been sitting with the question of how can I infuse more of my divine feminine essence into who I am and what I do. You'll probably know that I'm a spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and a facilitator. So to me, the infusing of the divine feminine essence is something that I've been working with for a very long time, and you know, the trusting of those elements, and it's a question that I've been sitting with more and more recently. How can I infuse more of that? Because I am a recovering control freak. I'm also, an Aries and I have Virgo in my sign as well. So I have have that impatience. I have that perfectionism within my nature, and so for me, my journey is about how can I surrender more, how can I trust more, how can I lean in more, and how can I allow for a softer, more patient side of me, both me personally, but also especially within my business, because I have abandoned the way of, fear-based marketing, fear-based way of doing business, and also the old paradigm of pushing, forcing, and coercing when it comes to business. So the question that I currently sit with is, how can I infuse more of the divine feminine? How can I infuse more of love into everything that I am, be, and do? So in this episode, I want to go over a couple of things. I want to go over some of the signs so that you will know if your divine feminine is rising. First of all, I want to say, you having been brought here, chances are that you will either be going through this, have experienced this, or will be soon be experiencing this. So that's absolutely the first and crucial sign. Second, I want to give you some how can you support that if you want to, and how can you and what to do if that's where you're at, and then some requirements that I find are necessary or important when it comes to this, and finally I want to give you some tools as to how can you support her, the divine feminine, your divine feminine essence in really running your life, so to speak. So if we start by the signs, so to me, I want to start by saying the realm of the divine feminine is the realm of intuition. It's the realm of being. It's the realm of gnosis, knowledge, wisdom. So it's very quote unquote intangible. So it's not physical in a sense. So it's not something that you can necessarily touch or feel or see or hear with your physical senses. It's something that you will have to train yourself, or I call it unveiling. As you lift the layers hindering your sight, you'll be able to see more clearly with your intuitive senses, your intuitive hearing, your intuitive listening, with your intuitive sensing, your intuitive seeing, and so forth. And that comes through the work that you do in unveiling yourself. So when I say unveil myself, it's to say that all of these things are already an opportunity or a possibility for you. It's not something that is outside of yourself. You're not seeking to become something that you're not. You're seeking to return to what you have always been. So know that as you move through this, if you feel scared or sad or any of that, it's not something that's, you're not looking or seeking something outside of yourself. You're only revealing, remembering, re-putting together what you have always been, always will be, and through infinity and beyond. So in terms of the signs, when our divine feminine awakens, when that essence begins to awaken, you get the sense that something is off. There's something that you cannot put your finger to, but you intuitively know that there's something that's off and it feels awkward. And at first you'll most probably or likely deny it or think yourself to be wacko. I don't want to say wacko, but you may think that you're crazy because you probably have some sense of being discontent, even though you should be happy. You probably on the outside have quote unquote everything that you're supposed to be, and so you should be happy, and still you're not. So there's like I call it a double whammer. There is the sense that something's off or something's wrong, something that you can't put your finger on, but and then there is the guilt and the shame of how can I feel as though something's missing when I have everything. And I know this because that's where I was at almost 10 years ago. So I know what it's like to be there and be like, you have everything. So in that case, the first step is to accept where you're at and to love yourself for that, no matter what comes up for you. You may also experience some anxiety. You may experience slight bouts of depression, and you may also have I said anxiety, but you may also have panic attacks, or it may not be full-blown fear, but you may be waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to breathe, being scared shitless, and you may or may not know why, but there's something like you're missing out on something. I want to say that, first of all, if you've gone through this, if this is where you're at, or if this is what you're about to enter, know that you're not off, you're not cray. When something feels off or senses off, it's because there is. And it's because it's time for you to... And I say this with all of my love and my joy and my happiness and my satisfaction, because I know what lies on the other side of that. And I know that if you're listening to this, you have, and it may not seem as though, but you have the strength to go through this. You can't get around it. If this is where you're at, the only way is through. This is what I tell my people in my program, Mastery Through Love, is that there's no way out. It is through love that you achieve the mastery of those things. It's through your being and also your doing that you will heal yourself, return to yourself, remember yourself, reveal yourself, know who you are. And so breathe deeply and know that everything is the way they're supposed to be, even though things may be quote unquote shit at times. We all go through that. So what do you do, or like how do you do what to do if you want to begin expanding that part of yourself? And I want to make it perfectly clear, you may not want to, but when the goddess comes knocking on your door, you're going to go there. You're going to get there, whether you want to or not, screaming or kicking. You can walk through the door, or you can be dragged. I was one of those who had to be dragged, and for that I am very, very grateful. I know that many see Mary Magdalene as being, the mother and the wife but I also see her as being, a powerful, powerful priestess and teacher. I see her as as someone who will not allow me to cower, who will not allow me to play small, who will not allow me to hide. And in the beginning, that can be so scary. Because it is. Because everything life as you know it will change. And that is scary. Let's just face it. That is scary. Life, when you change your life as you know it, and if it's your business as well, it is scary, and that's okay. So don't ignore that it's supposed to be scary, because it is. So what do you do? So first of all, I will encourage you to implement a practice of stillness. We live in a world where we have notifications going off everywhere. We have so much social media, or many different platforms, emails, phones going off, radio. We have a vast array of opportunity to be listening to be sucked out of ourselves, to be constantly called into other places. And so I want to encourage you to start by implementing a practice of stillness, whether it be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour or whatever you want to do. That's up to you. I think I started when I started 10, 15 years ago. I started with only, I think, about 5 to 10 minutes. That was all I could do. And I have since expanded, because as I've mentioned in other episodes, it's about the expansion of love. I'll make sure to link to that episode in the show notes, because it's about the expansion of love. So start simple, start small, with 5 minutes, but the implementation of stillness in your life, and it doesn't have to be necessarily meditation, even though that is, to me, like one of the most powerful tools there is. But stillness can simply be to sit in your chair and look out the window and just not focusing on anything, and just allowing yourself to be still, to not having to do for a while. So that's what I want to encourage you to do. And then secondly, it's being willing to listen and fully hear when you sit in that stillness. And you may not want to, and you may not even be able to in the beginning. You won't be able to, because part of the journey is, that's where the anxiety and the fear comes up, is that part of that is you already, because of your access to your divine feminine, whether you feel connected to it or not, it's there. So it's not about creating access to something that you don't already have. It's about reconnecting to what you already have. And whether you consciously or know it or not, that access or connection is always there. And so part of you know the quote unquote end game. You know where you're going to end. I knew those 10-ish years ago. I was so scared of letting go of everything. I knew I had to let go of, friends, of partners, of physical things, of my apartment, my car. I knew I had to move. I knew, quote unquote, on an intuitive level, I knew those things. I didn't know them like in conscious form, but I knew them on an intuitive level, and it scared the shit out of me, because we hold on to things, and it's our nature, nature as a human being, when we're not fully connected to our divine source. And so part of you will know, and that will scare the shit out of you. And that's okay. So know that you don't have to know the full end game. What you need to, quote unquote, or what you're listening for, and what you want to make yourself available for, is listening to your next step. because part of allowing your divine feminine to rise and strengthen her is living what I call a surrendered life. It's living a surrendered life in the sense of you don't know and we don't know everything. And you don't know the millions and millions and millions of possibilities or opportunities that are available to you. And as you with your free will take a step or make a decision, then the threads are being woven with that. And so you don't have to know everything. That is of the ego. It's of the fear. It's control. It's wanting to know everything. And I know this because that's where I was at. So part of this rise is what I call a surrender, living a surrendered life, which, as you start or begin, that is difficult. And it does get way better. And it does come to the point where you will be able to recognize, oh, I'm now in control. And then you'll just be like, boop, mic drop. I'm going to go out. That's what I do now. If I find myself stuck in trying to control things, I let go of everything that I'm doing. I get up out of my chair or move myself from where I'm doing. I refuse to do from a space of fear, from a space of control, from a space of lack. So I will just say, nope, thank you, I'm done with that. And then because I know, because I have the experience now, I know that there is another way. And I know that when I choose that way, when I choose the way of love, things fall into place in ways that I could not have imagined. Opportunities appear, quote unquote, out of the blue. Clients come flying into my circle. It's just, and the satisfaction, that's what I want you to get. The level of satisfaction that comes from living that surrendered life, from being in connection with your intuitive or with your divine feminine essence, it's satisfying on a deeply, deeply soul nourishing level. So that's where, and that again starts with being willing to listen and to create a space of stillness. And you can do that, you can have it in the morning, or you could have it at noon, or you can have it at night. And if you think that time it's an issue, I'm just gonna, blow that out of the water. It's not. If you believe that time is the issue, if you can't find 5 minutes in your day, to sit still, then you need it more than anyone else. I'm just going to say that. In terms of some of the requirements that I see for this, for allowing her, like, divine feminine essence to rise, and with her, and I said this when I mentioned the term, Mary Magdalene or the Magdalenes, there is this honesty. There is this brutal honesty. It seems brutal at first because it shakes up everything that you've probably believed in the past. It shakes up your limiting beliefs. It shakes up the ways that you have done things. It shakes up everything. It takes you on a journey of realigning your focus, of realigning your actions, of realigning your beliefs to what is really, really true for you. And that journey can be daunting and requires courage. In terms of courage, I want to say that I don't think that courage is something that you necessarily find. I think that courage is something that you're being seen as. You're being seen as courageous once you do it. Most likely you won't see yourself as being courageous in doing this, because to you there's probably not you couldn't have chosen differently. You couldn't have done it differently. But a lot of people will see you as being courageous in the way that you share your things, or are in the way that you just make decisions, because decisions is also part of the requirements that I see. Making love-based decisions for you. And that may mean that you have to say no to family gatherings. It may mean that you have to set boundaries in terms of when you will have friends come over. It may mean that you start, make decisions in terms of, where do you go, where, like, in what social structures are you in, which church you go to, what spiritual communities are you a part of. And so there are love-based decisions, but that are based in honesty, and we have this idea that the most loving, kind, and caring thing that we can do is to be everything for everybody. But that's not an option. The most loving, kind, and caring thing that you can do is be everything for yourself. And that may sound egotistical, and it can also have that outlook, but it's not, because if everyone in the world simply did the most loving, kind, and caring thing, and I'm not talking about greed or decisions that will impact other people negatively. I'm talking about you making decisions for yourself, and sure, those decisions may not be in resonance with other people, and there may be some kind of a conflict in terms of your decisions. But if everyone had the courage to take those decisions from a space of love, I think that our world would be a lot different. We wouldn't see the greed. We wouldn't see the injustices. We wouldn't see the lack of inclusiveness for everyone, because once you recognize that, once you recognize what love is and how you are part of that love and how you are that love, then you'll also see how everyone else is part of that too. And a thing that comes to mind as well is in terms of requirements, is also letting go of your need to change other people, or because having them be different than they are. I saw something recently that said that if you were able to go into the hearts of every person you met on earth, you would be able to love them unconditionally for who they are. And so I think that's very, very powerful. And that is what I mean by making love-based decisions for yourself, and how that would completely change the world. And I think that that's what you're here for. I think that's what I'm here for. I think that everyone who's listening or has made that journey, or are making that journey, that's what we're here for, basically. Because we're here to be part of the solution for a better world, for a more loving, kind, caring, just, and inclusive world for all, no matter our sexuality, no matter our gender identification, no matter our faith, no matter our color, no matter our disability, or our perfections or our imperfections. That's what we're here for. So I want to leave you with some tools as to how you can expand that part and give your divine feminine essence a place to train in, strengthen from. And what you'll notice, hopefully, is that these tools are, I like tools that aren't necessarily based in something specific outside of yourself, because that way it's something that you have always accessible to you. You don't need that specific or that certain meditation pillow or blanket. You don't need that specific water bottle, and you don't need, and this comes from someone who really likes things. So for me, letting go of all of that, you don't have to have that specific crystal or that, oracle deck or tarot cards. You can do this without any of those things. Yes, many of those things are wonderful, wonderful additions, essential oils, crystals, music, whatever, but you can do these things without. So the number one tool is your breath. It's when you sit in that stillness, connecting with your breath. And there are a lot of different ways that you can work with your breath. But what I want to say is the most simple you can do is just start by noticing your breath, and whether or not it's erratic or labored or short or long, however, just notice your breath. And once you begin to notice and add focus on it, you can then start to lower it and slow it, and just fill your lungs and your belly more and more, and just take deep breath, deep long breaths. That's a very powerful tool to connect with your intuition, your divine feminine essence of knowing and gnosis. Then there is dancing. And I know I said you don't need music. Well, you don't need music to dance. If you want to shake your hips or just move your body, you can just, the music is within you. You don't need music, but you can, of course, have that. But you can dance, like move your body and just, your hips and so forth, just, sway and move. So that's another great tool to really connect with her. Then there is one of my favorites, which is walking in nature, whether it be walking through a forest or in a park, whether it be, walking by water, lake or ocean, or whether it's just, if you just have a lawn, go outside and stand bare feet on that. I try to go bare feet into some part of nature almost every day. And I currently live in Denmark, where at the time of this recording, it's freezing. So, but feeling snow and ice beneath my feet is just, it's wonderful. Even though as a pro science starseed, I thrive on sunlight and sun and warmth, there's still something tremendously nourishing about feeling snow and ice underneath my feet. And so I try to do that almost every day. So walking in nature. And again, don't make it out to be something. If you live in a city that's not, if you're far from the ocean or water, if you're far from a forest, then maybe there's a park. Maybe it's simply just a lawn somewhere where you can go and, talk to the trees and the grass. Go hug a tree. Don't fall trapped to the idea that it has to be a certain way, or that you have to, it has to be these majestic trees. If you're listening to this via podcast, you may not see, but my office, the background, it's filled with ferns and plants, because I love nature and I try to bring it into my spaces as well. So that's part of it. And the final thing is yoga. I think part of the rise of the divine feminine has also been the immense load of yoga being spread across our globe, because it's so grounding, so connecting. Of course, depending on which type of yoga you choose to do, but yoga, getting in tune with your body is also a very powerful tool. So you can do that. So those were some tools. And of course, like I mentioned when I mentioned stillness, meditation, whether you do it with a mantra or silent or, inner journeys, or however you do it, meditation is, of course, also part of those tools. Yes, I am just checking to see. So as I said in the beginning, the strengthening of your divine feminine essence and your journey. In part of that journey, I also see your healing, the healing of your divine masculine essence. So I'm probably going to take that or bring that into a different episode later on. But if you have comments or questions, I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and share it. This is what I'm going to leave you with. Take care. I love you. That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. For all of the deeds and the details, find the show notes on my website, Mariaestela.com. Know that I would love to hear how it resonated with you and what you got from it. So tag me on Instagram or leave me a comment on either my website or YouTube. Finally, if it served you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or in social media. God bless.